Ladies and gentlemen, this is international news. The news is very bad for Europe. Yes, very bad for the whole West. The West that had considered Russia an enemy. The news is very bad. And this bad news was announced on February 24th, 2025 by President Donald Trump. That is to say, in addition to the welcome. Negative that he reserved for the president, for little Macron. In addition to everything we saw earlier, Macron was welcomed. He was not even welcomed. No red carpet, no dinner, no family dinner, no state dinner, no family photo, nothing more than that. In addition to the fact that even in their exchange, Donald Trump laughed at, the words that came out of Emmanuel Macron's mouth. As if all this was not enough, Donald Trump took advantage of the presence of Macron, already Macron depressed, to announce the very bad news to the West in relation to Russia. And this bad news makes the West very sad. And I told you, the world is moving towards a new world order, and America is very bad. They figured it out quickly. They very quickly understood what Donald Trump said, since after their exchange, there they lent themselves to the microphone of the press. This is where he said it clearly. First, he says the conflict in Ukraine could escalate into World War III. It's Trump who says it can escalate. Take it easy. The bad news is coming. But share the video conference as much as possible. Share it everywhere. Put a lot of genes. He goes on. He says this. He says, the conflict in Ukraine could escalate into World War III, and the United States intends to prevent that scenario. We do not want a third world war. They go on to say, the negotiations with Moscow are going very well. That's the beginning of the announcement. But it's not the announcement of the bad news. It's the beginning. Despite the fact that Westerners don't even want to hear about it. He says, negotiations with Moscow are going very well. The two sides have made significant progress in their dialogue. So he informs Macron. Macron has come. Why? To influence him, to convince him. Abandon the talks on the settlement of the conflict in Ukraine. Macron moved from France to the United States. For that's the first point. That's Macron's heart. Yum, yum, yum. Macron pulled himself together. Donald Trump continued, shared the video, got very many likes. He continued. He says this. He reads the conflict in Ukraine. It may end in a few weeks. It may end in a few weeks. So much so that they have progressed in dialogue to speak only France. Europe, since Emmanuel Macron came, he said that he came to bring the voice of Europe, to the American continent, therefore to America. This is the path of Europe. They want the talks to stop, the conflict to continue. They are committed to ensuring the security of Ukraine, even if America no longer wants to ensure. They are ready. Donald Trump says the negotiations, the dialogues are evolving very well between the two parties, and besides, the conflict may end in a few weeks. He had even pronounced the word 3 weeks. Here's the bad news. Donald Trump is also a man, right? In our country, we say Gorko, yes, Makolo is a man. He is now saying this, not sharing the video. I want to see enough sharing. He says the United States of America is trying to make several agreements, and I resume. The United States is trying to conclude several economic development agreements with Russia. Maranada, I take it back. The United States of America is trying to conclude several economic development agreements with Russia. That's not true. It's like a hammer blow to their head, Biaka, and they come to stop. Donald Trump, in his drive for dialogue with Russia to put an end to the conflict in Ukraine. Donald Trump, after saying no, lale, the conflict will certainly end in a few weeks. He's already early. America must conclude several agreements, not one agreement, but several development agreements with Vladimir Putin's Russia. And when we talk about agreement, these are partnerships. It means that relations are good. Relations are good. That's what it means when we talk about partnership. Okay, this is the partnership. Russia, they presented as a monster that should never be frequented. Putin, against whom they issued an arrest warrant. They got a warrant out for his arrest. Here is Putin, which America is now cherishing since obviously Russia has tech skills. There are many areas of development that Russia has that America does not have. We have seen in recent years that every time America tries to launch machines, satellites into orbit, it ends in a bitter failure. But when Russia, after Russia, can send into orbit more than 16 satellites at a time, until the other countries, Iran, China, not Iran, North Korea, come to Russia at the Russian Cosmodrome in the name of a collaboration, asked Russia to help them launch into orbit their satellite. America needs Russia. America needs. So where are they? They moved Macron to come and tell Trump that this Putin is our enemy. We must not continue the dialogue. We must go to war. Macron has finished making the statement. Trump looks at him, he says, but the conflict, even there, it will end in a few weeks. Much progress has been made in the dialogue. And besides, beyond the conflict, we are trying to sign several development agreements with Russia. Huh? If you don't need Russia, we need Russia. Today, Europe is suffering. They have taken measures, sanctions, blah. This famous alliance is being broken. And so after that, he says that the meeting with Zelensky to sign the agreement on natural resources will take place this week or next week. So America is winning. And he went on and he said he's ready to come to Moscow. If all goes well, he will go to Moscow. That's not bad news. As we speak, the intelligent Europeans no longer know which saint to dedicate themselves to. They are overwhelmed to the last degree. That is life. Unfortunately, times change. Joe Biden has left Europe begins to see clearly. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the front page of the news. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I'll be right back with some news. It was the voice of your only samurai.